Ooh, welcome,
Ah!
welcome, viewers, to the haunted magic morning wood. Ooh, oh, over
Children of the
there is
night.
the sad clown
All right,
Clive,
cut that shit out. Right. Anyway, it's Halloween,
and I'm your
motherfuckers.
host,
Yes.
Ravenous Ron. And yeah, anyway.
Although we're not talking, we're not
Oh,
really
yeah. Speaking of
talking.
which, did you hear that?
Go on.
No, no, never mind. Forget it.
No, what is
Uh,
it? Go on. What did I? Is it a joke?
it wasn't. I heard that there was a no. It wasn't. There's like a famous like a like host that like finished or something. Didn't someone finish like a radio host, famous radio host that you've talked about in the past? I can't remember. We talked about during uh oh man, I can't remember. My brain's not working today. Um, what was the movie that I picked for you and Nick that you guys hated? The 70s,
Oh,
the movie that the
oh no, no. Oh, oh, fucking, don't remind me.
just
Cameron
say
Crowe bullshit. Almost Famous.
yeah, that one.
Yeah. No, we
And
were
then yeah,
talking.
almost famous,
No,
and then
we were
no
talking
no,
about
and then
music
Philip Seymour
journalist.
Hoffman.
Yes.
Philip Seymour Hoffman played
What's his name? Very.
Doctor Demento. No, no, I will come around. Totally different thing. Doctor
Okay.
Demento. That's who I was trying to go for. Doctor Demento
Okay.
apparently played his last show recently. That was where I was going. I
Ah,
don't know
really?
why that has anything to do. Never mind. I've heard that apparently he's finally finished. Yeah, that. And so I don't know. That I was thinking of like horror hosts, and then it got me to Doctor. Anyway, so never mind.
Right.
Forget it.
Good.
Cut it all
Nice
out. There we go.
tangent.
Okay. Hi.
He must.
Welcome.
He must be quite old now, Dr. Demento.
Yeah, I was surprised he was still alive. So, but anyway. Anyway. So,
Good that you brought
welcome
it
to
up.
our Halloween. Yeah, anyway, welcome to our Halloween special. Our
Yes.
Halloween special where so every year we decide on one horror series or franchise that we uh laboriously watch every single
Yeah. We know how to have fun
installment
here
of
at
and
Magic
then
Morning
review
Wood.
and then we review them all.
And
I
curse each
guess
other
so.
out
So,
before any person.
yes, because yes. So actually, I didn't even want to choose this year. So the reason I chose, there's no point in keeping it a secret. So I chose the Purge series this year, and the only reason I didn't actually want to choose the Purge series, but the only reason I chose it because on our regular show we do a loose connection, right, with between the last movie that we reviewed and for our next episode. And so our last movie that we reviewed was Predestination with
Hmm.
Ethan Hawke. And so I was choosing, so I thought I wouldn't have much time. So I thought, oh, why don't I just use Ethan Hawke as my connection and we'll just use, instead of having a standalone Halloween special, we could have it as part of just the regular algorithm in our regular show. And I could we'll just slot it in because I didn't think I'd have time to watch too many movies. But then it turned out that we ended up like delaying and then I had lots of time. So now but we'd already chose it. So anyway, so here we are with the Purge series.
Right.
So we chose the Purge series. There are five installments of the Purge series plus 2 seasons of a television series.
Yes.
Yes. So yes. Yeah. So first, and you said you'd seen the first three, is that right?
Yeah, I had seen
Live?
the first three before, and I hadn't seen the last two, and I hadn't seen any of the TV series. So for me, it was a little bit more interesting
Mm.
as it could, because other than this, I don't think I'd have any desire to go back and rewatch any of them really.
Mm.
But
Right.
it had
I
been a
saw.
little while, so it wasn't too
Mm. Mm.
it wasn't too bad. I'd forgotten most of it. So
Right.
yeah, so
I
this is
saw.
a
I had only seen the
Blumhouse.
first Purge.
Ah, you had seen the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only the first one. Yeah. So I hadn't seen any of the other four or the show. So this was a first watch for me
Yeah.
for most of it. So
A
yeah. So yeah, as you said, a
Blumhouse
Blumhouse,
series, right?
Blumhouse or Blumhouse?
I think it's
Is it
Blumhouse, yeah.
or
Blum, I think. I
Yeah.
just like pronouncing it
Um,
wrong, just for fun.
yeah. And most of them written and directed by James DeMonaco. It sort of seems to be his sort
Yeah,
of
I think he wrote
brainchild, his
all of them.
baby,
Yeah, but
all of
but
them, and then
he
directed several of them,
the first three. Yeah.
or at least created the show and stuff. I don't know if he
Yes.
wrote some of it. Yeah, so anyway, yes.
I think it's one of
So,
those. I think it's one of those surprising. I mean, we'll have things to say about whether we like each individual episode or not. But the one thing I do
mm,
slightly appreciate about Purge series is it seems to be a series that's genuinely kind of organically grown. Like
mm,
it doesn't feel like cynically kind of mapped out. Like I think they did the first
mm,
one and it was a genuine kind of people wanted some more of that and they
uh,
tried to kind of come at it from some slightly different angles and they
uh,
don't always necessarily succeed. We'll talk about that. But
uh,
I like the idea of the series. Do you know what I
mm,
mean?
mm. I think, yeah, I think overall, some parts, like I was pleasantly surprised by some parts where I think a lot of this series or this sort of idea would be really easy to just go kind of like shock horror or like torture porn kind of idea. And I think
Mm,
there would have been a lot of easy outs, but I think sometimes it took the road less traveled, I think, with a lot, and it actually surprised me. Like, oh, I'm surprised they actually made that choice, and they actually did things which kind of made you think about the series in a more open way, kind of thing. So I appreciate that. I mean, it wasn't always there, but I
mm.
did think that they made choices which you wouldn't expect, which I thought was interesting for
Yeah.
them
And
overall.
and also
And
across
and
the
and and
mm,
I do appreciate also the world building. I mean, basically, as you said, they started with one, and then they wanted, and it became really popular. So they kind of like, okay, what is this world, and how did this come to be? And then they're sort of like, telling it from different people's point of perspectives. And I think there's a lot of stories that could be told in this world, which is what they attempt to do. So good for them. So
yeah. And across the the decade or plus that they've been doing them as well. I think
mm,
even though the films themselves might not necessarily always work as great films, they're kind of interesting. I think they'll be interesting to look back on as kind of
mm.
State of the Union kind of
Mm. They're relative. I mean, and considering it started in 2013 was the first one.
yeah.
They're pretty kind of relevant now. I would say, like more
Yes.
than they probably
Worryingly
expected it
so.
to be. Yeah, which may maybe have something to do with the popularity. Is that it ended up sort of like
I think
hitting a
so.
nerve with a certain
Yeah, I
amount
think
of the
so.
populace, and
And it's
yeah,
tracked
so
along with them, right? So the first one
yeah.
is kind of yeah is it's there's not. I mean the setup. We'll get to the setup, and the setup inherently is going to have a little bit of socio-political stuff in there. But the first film
Yeah.
doesn't have too much of that, right? It's a bit more of a
Mm.
straight up and down thriller.
Yeah, like it's like a home invasion thriller kind of thing, right?
Yes,
So
with a
yeah. Mm.
little bit, a little layer of
Mm.
kind of because they're obviously a very well-heeled
Rich,
family,
well
yeah,
off.
living in a
Yeah,
nice
yeah, yeah.
community and all that.
There's a bit of sort of commentary on class in that one, which
Yes,
becomes more as it goes along. But yeah, so
yeah,
mm,
there's not so much. I mean, it becomes more class and race in the sequels, right?
mm, sure, yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So what's the setup of the first film then, which is set in 2022?
Mm, right. And yeah, so but filmed, made in 2013, I guess, filmed released in 2013. And so the setup is it's sort of a dis. I mean, one last thing I'll also say about the series is that it's also a at times I felt, I don't know if you agree with me, but at times it was a stretch to even call it a horror franchise, even
Oh
though it is
yeah,
a horror
yeah,
franchise.
yeah.
It's really more of an action
Action
thriller
thriller, yeah,
franchise than
yeah,
it is a horror. But
yeah,
I mean, I could see how they were trying to put elements of horror in it, but it was at times I was kind of like, this is not really
yeah.
a horror movie,
But that's
really.
a
So yeah,
that's a
yeah,
Blumhouse thing, isn't it? A
yeah.
Blumhouse in general is kind of yeah, horror tinged stuff, right?
Sure. Yeah.
it's their main dish, but they do kind of try and do, and you know, some things are interesting, some things are not. I mean,
Yeah. I
I
guess
haven't
so.
seen all of the stuff they've put out, I have to say. Some of it doesn't really appeal to me, but I'm kind of glad that they exist and
It
they do
exists.
churn out
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
because
It's got stuff. Yeah.
there's some interesting stuff
It's
now and again, right?
it's almost like a in general better quality um trauma. I
Yeah,
guess
and
also in
they
some
remind,
ways.
they're a little bit with more bigger budgets, but they remind me a little bit of like the 50s, like AIP stuff and
Mm,
Roger Corman and stuff like
sure. Yeah.
just chucking a lot of stuff at the wall and just
Mm,
seeing. But yeah, like you
seeing
said,
what
but not
sticks.
like yeah, trauma gets a bit too like I don't know, like a very hyperactive child or something, right? And he's just
Yeah.
screaming in
Sure.
your
Yeah.
face for 2 hours, and then and then stuff like the Asylum or Sci-Fi, they just lowball it too. They don't even try,
Uh,
right? They just wheel
uh,
out, Steve Guttenberg's in this, and there's a shark mixed with an octopus. Isn't that hilarious? And you know, you're like, no, not really. And I don't need six fucking sequels of this stuff. Or, you know, so Blumhouse at least is like
mm,
they're kind of trying to do some interesting. It's not all
yeah.
to my taste, but then again, that's more about me and my relation
Sure.
with modern American culture than it is their problem, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to the original movie.
Hmm.
Again, written directed by James DeMonaco, starring Ethan Hawke, Lena Headey from Game of Thrones, and then some other people. Don't
Oh,
really
is
know
she in
most of
Game
them
of
other than.
Thrones? Is she?
Oh yeah, she's
Ah,
Queen Cersei. Yeah.
interesting, because Lena Headey is like one of those actresses I've known since I was a teenager, right? Because she started quite
Me
young.
too, actually.
Yeah.
I originally knew her as Guinevere from there was a TV miniseries of Merlin that she was
Ah,
on, and yeah, and that's where I first recognized her. And I like she kind of stood out to me at that point, and I still remember her, and I was excited when she was on Game of Thrones because I remembered her from Merlin and stuff. So, but yeah, so she's yeah,
she's
so
in. I remember her. There was a TV, like in the 90s. There was a one-off kind of TV special thing called "Loved Up," starring her
uh,
and fuck, what's his name? He was in. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Very famous British actor, and it
yeah.
was like a big deal thing. It was like at the height of ecstasy, and it was kind of like a drama about
Okay.
ecstasy, and it was good. Yeah, I remember her from that, and yeah,
Hmm.
she's in the Dread film as well, right? The good
Yeah,
Judge Dredd.
Dread, and also
Yeah.
three. She was in 300
Ah,
and
yeah.
Pride and Prejudice. Yeah, like a bunch of that stuff, right? She was the voice of Evelyn in the Masters of the Universe cartoon on Netflix. So anyway,
Oh, is
she's been
she?
around. So she's
Okay.
yeah, she's been famous for that stuff. So but yeah, so anyway, this is a sort of a home invasion. So it's sort of the dystopian sci-fi, alternate universe kind of
Yeah.
situation
You forgot one
where
very important cast member, by the way, which is the thing I
is
remembered about this film since I first saw it. Adelaide Kane plays
I don't know who
the
that is, so that's why I
teenage
didn't get
daughter,
it. Okay.
and
I don't know
she
who she
is
is, so
fucking hot in this film.
okay.
Did you not think?
She's kind of young. She's on the young side for me, so
Okay, okay. But that's what
yeah,
I
at the time.
remembered
So
of the first. That's the
yeah,
one thing I was
mm,
most looking forward to rewatching about this film, was see Adelaide
yeah.
Kane
Oh,
in her
oh,
uniform. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So anyway, so it's dystopian sci-fi kind of, and this is in the future, or in the future for this movie, which is now the past, I guess, right?
Oh
Which
my
is
God, you've just blown my
It's
mind.
blowing my mind, yeah.
Oh,
Where the government has decided to create a situation one night a year, 12-hour period on March 21st, I believe, every March 21st, between the hours of 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. All crime is legalized, is allowed. You're
Mm.
allowed to do everything, anything. The only things you're not allowed to do is to use certain weapons above a certain class, which are like explosives or something. It doesn't really
Yeah, or nuclear
clarify till
weapons or
later, but
something. Yeah.
nuclear or something. I think it's above explosives or something. Explosives above, and you can't attack government officials above a certain level, like level 10 or whatever that means. Whatever.
Yes.
It's not really explained at that point, but they explain it later
Yes. And it's
installments or whatever.
the
But
founding, the new founding fathers of
the new founding
America.
fathers, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's so which is meant to be, I think, at the beginning, almost like a real similar like a real super right wing kind of
Mm.
government faction, I guess. It also has elements of not clearly, but elements of also the Handmaid's Tale kind of idea, where they're quite religious and based in like a very kind of religious or some sort of like cult like kind of like
Yeah. Yeah.
religion
Well, I
based
think if you're
society,
dealing with
government and stuff like that. So
that type of person, that's always going to come into
mm,
the mix at some point, right?
yeah,
The idea of yeah, racial purity and women not
sure,
owning their
yeah,
own bodies and stuff like that.
right,
Also
yeah,
in the so yeah, so and it becomes a siege thing, right? Because Ethan Hawke and
mm,
his wife and their hot daughter just
yeah.
stay inside, and some people try and get in,
Yeah,
basically.
and so Ethan, well, I think it's important is that Ethan Hawke is a nouveau riche character
Yes,
who has made his money by selling security systems to the rich people because
correct.
of this particular night, right? And so
Yes,
he's in this kind of like high rich kind of neighborhood where he's made his money off of his neighbors by selling them their own security
yeah,
systems that they
he's
use for these
kind
purges.
of oddly morally conflicted, I suppose, in a way, isn't he? And
Yeah, yeah.
and the fact as well that at a certain point he helps someone, he lets someone enter the house, and
Mm.
so then it goes a bit. That's a bit
Well,
straw
he doesn't.
dogs.
The son does, right?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, the son
Well,
does.
anyway,
Yeah,
they allow someone
yeah,
in the house, right? They
yeah, yeah,
protect them, so
yeah.
it goes a bit straw
Yes. So
dogs.
so anyway, so of course, so as soon as 7 o'clock, there's a big siren and all the gates come down, and so that's it's all security protection, and so they're all just going to sit safely inside their house for 12 hours until everything's good. But then this guy kind of runs up and is like begging, is all bloody and is begging for help, and the son, who's the kind of like a bleeding heart liberal, I guess is the
Mm,
idea, opens the gate to let this guy in to help him out. But of course, you don't know if he's pretending or if he's like if he's actually running from somebody. Turns out that he's actually, I guess, a good guy who's running from. He's like a homeless person that had
mm,
been running from this kind of group of people who were out to purge and then killed,
mm.
and they were hunting this homeless guy. And so then they've decided that if they don't release this homeless guy, then they're going to siege the house. And then after that becomes sort of a home invasion, kind of like
Yeah.
siege home invasion thing. And yeah, and so it's sort of like more really, again, more of a thriller, but of course they've got kind of scary masks, I guess, on, which kind of
Mm.
is where they go for the and they try to explain it away a little bit, why everyone kind of, it's like a thing where everyone wears masks on this night, although I don't think they really adequately explained it, considering it's legal and they don't need to hide their faces. So it's
Right. I think
so
it's just more of that.
is
It's
yeah,
in this. It's a Halloween. That's the one thing that
yeah,
does kind of link this to Halloween a little bit. Is this
yeah.
does feel like
Mm.
a insane version of Halloween, right?
Sure, yeah. And
Yeah.
also like yeah, they put masks on and almost like gives them permission to act out
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
like most base desires or whatever. So um
The,
yeah, and so then they break in, and yeah, and there's a lot of like kind of struggles and kind of like thriller, and you don't know who's around the corner, that kind of stuff. And it's
mm,
darkened house, even though they don't turn the lights on for some reason. Some of that. So then they break in and finally like take down, he sort of he tries to dad tries, Ethan Hawke tries to take down the bad guys who are breaking into his house and threatening his family. He ends up getting stabbed, and through
mm,
spoiler, of course, spoilers for all his movies, he dies at the end. And then they're kind of holding he saves and then the neighbors come and then save them and kill all the intruders, and but then decide that they're gonna purge on the family because they felt that they've stolen all their money for all the security systems and made their,
right.
so that was their reasoning for purging them, and so then they're about to kill them, but then they end up getting killed, and they fight back, and da da da. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's sort of like a
So the perceived
um,
wisdom as well
mm,
is that the concept is like from a famous old Star Trek episode, right? But I think the
mm,
even that has its um that's descended from other things as well. The
sure.
precedents for that as well.
And
So
so
the
and so
concept's not that.
the art of yeah,
Mm,
the artifice is that the government has done tests to see, and it's been proven apparently that because of this, that crime in general is all down. That people feel that they don't need to do
yes, in
crime the rest of the
general, yeah.
year because it's down to like 1%, so that crime is down to nothing, and then also unemployment apparently they said was down, but then there was
Yes,
also a big thing about class soup. So I don't know if that was
yeah.
meant to be sort of like a government
It's
bullshit
like
or
a
something like that, but
safety valve, isn't it? Once a year,
yeah, yeah,
everyone goes mad,
yeah.
and
You
then
can
the rest of the year they're
releases.
all
Yeah, yeah,
law-abiding citizens.
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but it
Which of
is a good,
course,
even though it's not.
as
Mm,
the series goes on, it turns out that that's more of like a just like a propaganda bullshit, that it's not really actually doing
right,
that as
right.
well. So
But again, I think that's something that's come out. I'm not sure if they had
mm,
that in the back of their minds when they were doing
sure.
this
Yeah, yeah,
first one,
yeah.
right? So
Right.
so this is a straight up kind of home invasion thriller with
Mm.
horror, and it's it's actually kind of fun for this kind of thing. It's
Yeah, it
not
was.
great, but
I
it's
remember enjoying it. Yeah,
yeah,
it didn't strike me so much that I really desperately wanted to see the rest of them, because I didn't actually go see any of the other ones after this.
right.
But I remember enjoying it the first time around, and it was it was good enough. Everyone was decent in the roles, and it was a pretty good kind of uh you know
Yeah, it's a good setup.
escapism, kind of a fun little
I can
yeah.
see why it was a kind of a hit in a way because
Mm,
again, it's one of those films that's conceptually the concept is a bit more interesting than the
mm,
execution. But there
sure.
is room, yeah, well, clearly there's room for telling different variations on the story.
Mm.
Again, I don't know if Ethan Hawke is
Is he too earnest for you in this one too?
again, he's yeah. The more I see him, yeah. He's a bit earnest, goes to camp, and he. I don't know what it is. I used to like him more when I was. It's not that I dislike him, but it's just I don't know. He 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 is yeah. He's I like him when he's doing something quite different. So in a later show, we'll be talking about him in another film, and I like him a lot more in that film because he's
Mm.
not doing his earnest shtick, right?
Yeah,
Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So
It
I think that's
wouldn't work
maybe
in
the
that
key to
in that film though.
casting.
I do think he was almost a little bit miscast for that other role, however,
Okay,
but But anyway,
I,
we'll talk
but
about that
I quite like.
on another show.
Yeah, I think I quite like when he's cast against type. I think just because
Yeah.
it's a bit more it's a bit more. Otherwise, it just feels like I don't know. I don't know. Just this image of Ethan Hawke just like, "Hey guys, hey, hoo hoo," and shaking everyone's hands on set, and he's brought presents for everyone's kids and shit, and he's just like too fucking
He's
nice.
just a nice guy. He's Ethan
Yeah,
Hawke. He's a
which
nice
I'm
guy.
sure is lovely to work with, but
Yeah.
I don't know. There's
Yeah.
something. Yeah, I'd like to see him um play. He'd be good as like. Did you ever see Spring Breakers,
Like
the
a
Harmony
comedy, or
Korine film? Uh,
I
there's a
can't recall.
James Franco um who there's a little bit in common with Ethan Hawke. James Franco's has a really interesting role in that film. He plays like this gangster with like gold teeth and shit, and like it's one of the better James Franco roles because he's not just being James Franco, right? And I feel Ethan
Uh-huh.
Hawke would work well in that kind of
Mm.
criminal role or something like that, right? Like
Oh, okay.
stop being so fucking nice, Ethan.
No, I didn't see that one. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so I mean, it was a good first installment, and sort of set it up, the idea and kind of the world a little bit, and but I mean, I can see where it kind of would, and especially considering it was so popular, that it was uh ripe for spin-offs, because there's so many other stories in this world you could tell, a lot of sort of unanswered questions about like how this all started and where it came from, and and what other things are happening elsewhere. And so it was because it was very much like a one setting story, as opposed to kind of more finding out what's happening all over the country and stuff like that. So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, so it's definitely, it was a um having a sequel to this wasn't a stretch. Sometimes they really have to like create like an artificial situation to create a sequel. But like this was
Right.
like a well situated for
Like
sequel, I
someone
think,
dies in the
kind of movie.
first
Yeah.
film and then they play their
Yeah.
identical twin brother in the second film, or
Yeah, and they've got
this
to
kind.
figure out,
Yeah.
how do I bring this person back, and they really have to create a situation. Whereas this one is just, it already has situations already kind of built into it. So it definitely has that going for it, I think so. But yeah, I think the first one was fun. It was, I mean, wasn't it was I didn't dislike watching it again. So it was, yeah, it still gives me, so I think they do pretty well with keeping the tension up, and using the thriller
Yeah.
aspect. But
Yes.
again, not much of a horror, but it was
No,
definitely
but it's okay.
tense,
It's a
and
fun little
it's
it's a
okay
fun little
for,
film. It's not,
yeah, fun film
and a must
with
see for you Adelaide Kane fans. Um,
right,
uh,
right.
what's next, Ron?
All right, then we're on to the Purge 2. So this gets a little, um the one thing that the Purges that I didn't really like about the Purges in general, uh is they do that thing where they refuse to use just 2, 3, and 4 like numbers. So they give them all subtitles, and so you have to kind of just remember what order they come in, which is kind of annoying. Second one is the Purge Anarchy.
Mm,
Anarchy, right? Yeah, subtitle Anarchy. So in this one, we're getting into sort of like the larger picture things that are happening on the streets, um, and also introducing us to our new Purge hero, played by Frank Grillo, who
yes,
plays just Sergeant, right?
yes. Frank
And I mean,
Boring Grillo, like in these two films. Like,
although I have to be honest, if your name is Frank Grillo, there's really, you have to become like an action movie star, I think. I mean, based on your name, like I mean, it's not like you're not gonna be a kindergarten teacher with the name Frank Grillo. So it's
someone should have handed him an energy drink or something at some point.
yeah.
Like he's like Jesus fucking Christ. Like I know what he's going for. He's going for that,
uh,
you know,
the
sullen, seen it
solid,
all.
yeah, yeah,
I
sullen,
forgot where my razors
taciturn,
cop
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
But yeah, fucking hell, Frank. I mean, I've seen him in other things and he seems to be all right sometimes. I'm sure I've seen him in something and I
mm,
thought he was okay. But he's
right,
sleepwalking, certainly through the one after that. I can't remember much about. So Purge Anarchy is the one where we, rather than go from the affluent neighborhood, so it's from the year later, we're going basically to lower income housing
right,
and predominantly non-white areas, right, of the
right,
city.
yeah,
And yeah, so we're getting, yeah, like you said, there's more of the, well, what happens if you're on the lower end of the income spectrum, right? That makes for a
right,
different, and
mm,
also,
yeah,
um, in America, if class comes into it, then race is going to come into it as well, right? You can't separate the two, right?
sure, mm,
So yeah, so
yeah,
this is exploring that uh a bit more delicately than later sequels would, right?
sure, yeah,
This is
yeah,
not kind of pushing it. It's just like, oh well, we've done the rich white people being invaded version. Now let's
mm,
do the poorer people of color version of this story, right? And
right, right.
and it's got a, I mean, I liked it.
But also having some white people.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. You know,
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
got
yeah,
to,
of course.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
you've got to sell it to those white folks who, you
yeah.
know,
Right.
um, but
So
yeah,
this
so
one is also more to do with like, it's got like kind of it's starting to go more for like intertwining stories, which is kind of what it goes more for
right,
later on, especially in
yes,
the TV series, where it has sort of like seemingly interconnected people that eventually kind of connect by the end of
Right,
the film, or come
right.
across each other, and so you're following each these individual, and then they kind of come together, by the end, kind of thing. So
Yeah. We'll get to the TV stuff because that's very much what they do there, isn't it?
yeah.
So this one's kind of, I liked it to begin with. It had a bit of a kind of it had a bit of a because we're in this, the characters can't lock themselves up in a high security area, and they're not, so there's a lot more being out on the street stuff, right? And it reminded me a
Hmm.
little bit of like the Warriors, some of it, the classic gang film from
Yeah,
1979,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's a bit of a Warriors vibe to it, which I quite liked, and I don't think it's a coincidence. I think that's like a deliberate. I think they were deliberately kind of trying to reference that film. Um, but
Hmm.
it kind of, for me, it kind of ran out of steam halfway through,
Mm.
and so the socio-political stuff is like the film's a bit too cartoonish to be
Mm.
convincing in that regard, but then
Mm.
they kind of, it's not a very exciting exploitation film either. For like it ran out of steam.
Mm.
So this one falls between two stools, I thought. Like it's
Mm.
ambitious, it's trying to do something a bit more, but it's not really, there's not enough meat on the bone. But then they also kind of
Mm.
let the side down a little bit with the the action stuff gets quite repetitive. Like
Mm.
I found that
I
something that
think.
happens, the rest of the series actually is slightly plagued by
Mm.
this, is
Mm.
the action isn't varied enough, or like
Mm.
it's just the same kind of thing over and over and over again, and you find yourself
Yeah.
losing interest.
Well, as I was watching, I think it was around this one or the third one that I started to realize that I think they, to use a pun, shot themselves in the foot by allowing all all weapons, because what happens is that most of it just sort of like just kind of denigrates to like just a shootout. The whole thing is
Yes.
just like a whole bunch of shootouts, and it's people shooting each other and blah blah blah. And
Yeah.
the thing is that there's nothing scary about just shootouts, right? I mean, when you're
No.
in a shootout, I'm sure it's scary, but
Yes.
watching a shootout is exciting rather than scary. And so I think that's where they kind of hurt themselves by making it a horror franchise, but just having a lot of guns, and almost everyone just shoots each other. And I was like, well, that's not really, it's not scary, and it's also not that thrilling either, because you're
Yeah.
kind of so overwhelmed and so used to it and desensitized by how much shooting it is
Yeah.
that you don't even really care that much anymore either. So it's sort of, as I said, shoots itself in the foot by allowing guns. I think would have been more interesting overall, and it would have been better, is if they had allowed any crime, but you're not allowed to use any guns, which also would have had um sort of like statements about like the gun
Gun
control in
culture.
America,
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff, right? And then you can get into more things like knives and swords, and
Mm.
and other kind of poison, kind of more, it could be more kind of interesting, kind of intrigue, and kind of more interesting,
Yeah.
close up battles and stuff, that rather than just like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
what's so scary about that? I mean,
No,
there's
you're right.
it's
It's interesting actually. We'll get to it when we get to it, but I think
yeah,
in some ways, the TV series did a lot better job of mixing it up
actually, yeah, I'd say that.
in
Mm,
like,
I'd say.
but yeah, like you, almost all of these sequels just descend into gun battles,
Well,
right?
that's the thing, is that, so I said before we started recording that it's going to be a bit of a struggle. I watched all these like about a month ago, and I'm actually
So now,
struggling to remember the second one,
yeah,
because it's almost it's really similar to the other ones, right?
yeah.
So I'm trying to, like, what exactly happened in this one. So
Well, so
um
the Frank
yeah.
Grillo
Well,
character
this
carries us
mm,
through into the next one
yeah,
as
yeah.
well, right? The
And then
Purge
this is the one where
election.
they introduce the mask that comes back in the TV series, right? The god,
Yes,
right? That's
yes, yeah,
yeah, yeah. So that's where this is first introduced, right? So, where the white couple is
yeah.
stranded in the lower
So do
economics,
you remember what was your
neighborhood
take
and
on
stuff.
Anarchy before we go on into election year
I
then?
think it
You
was. I
remember?
remember, again. I think this is kind of where I was kind of like, okay. I mean, I appreciate this as an action movie or as like a thriller kind of thing, but again, it's not. I was losing me as a horror franchise, just because it was sort of like I'm gonna put a mask on and go roar and chase you around with a gun. But I was like, it's not. I
Yeah,
mean, there's a reason why Freddy and Jason don't have guns. You know what I mean? Like it's just because
but
guns
Freddy couldn't
guns
hold
just
one
don't.
with those fingers.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'm sure you can. Right. So, but yeah, but it's just sort of like that's why they have knives, right? Knives, close up is scarier, right? When especially because I don't know, I just there's something just so desensitizing about a gun not being used in it. Like, can you think of another horror franchise that just where the murderer has a gun? Like, I don't know, it just feels like
Yeah, the thing is,
it's
I
always it's
think the
always a hook
problem,
or a chainsaw or a knife or a
yeah,
machete or
the problem
fingers,
might
like it's
the problem might
yeah, I
be
don't know.
though is if it, I think it's more to do with if you're expecting, because I don't really expect The Purge to be a horror series as it were. So I'm
But I
less.
mean, it was supposed to be, right? So, or at least it's
Uh I mean,
yeah, I don't
like I
know.
said, it's kind of what Blumhouse do, right?
Mm.
Is
Yeah, I guess,
that's
yeah.
kind of where they live, but then
Right.
they're kind of trying to branch off into different areas, and
Sure. Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think, yeah, if anyone's watching and they're, yeah, The Purge is really a good choice for a Halloween pick, really, is it?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, whatever. So,
The
lots of
first
good
one is
masks.
by
So,
far the one that's closest to a horror film, right? It's got
sure.
the
Yeah.
trappings of, like, yeah, like a
Yeah.
old dark house, or like a slasher film or something
Mm,
like that, right? And then
right.
once
Yeah.
they're out, because none of the other films really stick very long to that siege thing through the
Sure.
length
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the whole film, right?
Yeah. Some of them have elements of that. Like there's one with
Yes.
like I can't remember which one it is, but there was like the store. They're held up in like
That's
like the
this one.
corner
That's Anarchy.
store. That's this one.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. I
yeah,
can't remember which one it is anymore.
yeah.
Right. So yeah. So
But
yeah,
yeah,
they
but
have
after a
elements
while
of
they
that, but
have
then
to
it just
leave
goes
there,
soon. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. It's
Mm.
not, yeah, it's kind of like yeah, it's not like Night of the Living Dead or Dawn of the
At the
Dead,
same
where
time,
they stay in one
I
location.
appreciate they don't just make them all sieges because then that
Yeah,
would be boring
absolutely.
too,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, like I said, from
Mhm.
that's why I wanted to preface it all by saying, regardless of what I think of each and every, I kind of do appreciate the Purge series conceptually, and
Mm,
the fact that they
sure.
try and stretch it out.
Mm, right. I will put this as a side note. I was watching like on your phone they've always comes up with these like random like bullshit memes and videos they're
Yeah,
trying
from
to get you
you
to watch
usually on
now
my
quickly and
phone,
stuff.
but
From me?
yeah,
Oh yeah,
you
well no,
sent
that,
me.
that's different. I'm like
That's
just
just to wind me
and
up.
just on social media. Yeah, that's a gift. I'm talking about social media there. And then their phone listens to you and I'm assuming I was like talking about the purge or had been watching the purge and so it's bringing me up purge stuff. And so there was this one kind of like funny or die video or something about the purge and but it's interesting. They always like make fun of these kind of series of it. And it made actually some points that made me think about it, which is true, which is that conceptually actually doesn't make any sense because I was like, because there'd be things like, well, what about if you kill a person or you shoot someone during the purge, but then they die after the purge ends? Does that
Or like
count
in
as
hospital
murder
or
then,
something.
or yeah,
Right.
they're in a hot when they're in the hospital? Does so in that case is that covered by the purge? And then also like it's like oh well, if you do drugs during the purge, then you don't get addicted to them, right? So that does, yeah. So,
Right. Well, they
so
do
he's
kind
like,
of
well,
address
that
that.
doesn't really how drugs are.
They address some of that a little bit in the
Yeah.
second series of the TV series, because they have people
Right. Yeah.
monitoring
Yeah.
stuff, right, and checking
Sure.
times and
Yeah. Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
did
Right.
get
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
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 But I mean, there are certain things that I mean, and like and then like of course there's the other one that's like you have to do the bank robbery at only at the certain time, whatever. But at the same time, things spill out. They have other consequences, or it's like a longer,
Right.
bigger thing, right? So it's not like a one-time thing. So yeah.
No.
Anyway, there's definitely more difficult if
Yeah.
you go
Well, I
and
think
dive
that's,
into the more logistics of it. So
but I think that's baked into the concept as well, because I don't think we're necessarily supposed
mm.
to think that it's actually a great idea from the beginning.
A great
So
idea. Yes, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I guess that's true. Yeah,
And as the
yeah.
series progresses, it definitely is painted as some
As
rich folks trying to get, it's, I mean, I'm surprised they didn't
yeah.
play kill the poor by Dead Kennedys over the end credits of any of these films, right? Because it would be fucking
Right.
perfect, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So Purge election year, 2016.
Okay. Then we get yeah.
Frank
Frank Grillo comes
sleepwalking
back.
Grillo returns.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so this is the one. So this they go deeper into the politics here, right? So there's a
Mhm.
senator, right, as played by Elizabeth
Right.
Mitchell, and she's basically trying to get the purge banned, right? And she's
Yeah.
pointing out,
She's the anti-purge.
yes, and how, it of course it overly affects poorer communities more than rich communities. And yeah, so
Yeah.
we're getting more into the kind of conspiracy about why this thing really exists, right? And
Mm.
who the people and how they've tricked the people and stuff like that.
And we're getting more into the also like the almost the cult like kind of like ritualistic kind of things
Yes,
behind like the people who are doing it and stuff. The what is it called? The People's Republic. What are they called
I
again?
can't
The
remember.
Founding fathers
Oh,
of
the new founding fathers of
yeah,
America. Yeah, the
yeah, new founding
NFA.
fathers of America.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's actually more of like a religious cult that have that like almost like a religious cult
Yeah, well,
mixed
there's
with the
religion in there. I
Nazis,
mean,
mixed with the KKK, kind of
they're
all put together.
they're a
So
bit
yeah,
MAGA, let's put it
yeah,
that way.
MAGA, KKK,
They basically want to make America
New
great
Boys,
again,
good
basically,
boys. What are they called?
is
Yeah,
what they want to
yeah,
do, right? Uh,
yeah, sure, yeah.
and
I
yeah,
guess by
that
this
tracks.
point, this was 2016. This was like when Trump was first elected, right?
Yeah,
So this
yeah,
was
no, it
like
tracks. It
right
tracks
in
perfectly.
there,
The
right in
timing
there.
is
Yeah,
is
yeah,
spot on, really. Um,
yeah.
Unfortunately, again, though, they front and center the kind of interesting political elements, but then this gets even more cartoonish in terms of like
Mm,
there's no nuance. All the villains are, very, very villainous, and again just descends into an urban action thriller with
yeah.
not enough um variety. For me, I think this is my least favorite of the whole series, I think.
Oh, really? I thought the I think it was one. What was the next one's the first Purge, right?
The next one is the first Purge, yeah.
Yeah, I think I can't even remember. I think it was either the first Purge or the Forever Purge, which was my least favorite. But this one was it was sort of like second or third lowest, I think. So I think and there. So
For me,
yeah,
it's
but
just
it was. I
because.
mean, it was. I'm. I think originally the idea was that James DeMonaco
Mm,
had conceived of this as a trilogy. I think once he started doing these, and that this was actually supposed to be the ending. So it's supposed to be like this is, and basically at the end of this movie, she wins, gets elected, and stops the purge. And that is supposed to be the
right,
end of the whole
right,
series, right? There's no
right.
more purge, right? And so actually by in the next one they is the first purge. They kind of go as a prequel. They go back, and
Yes,
then it goes back to the Forever Purge, where and in the Forever Purge they basically just undo everything that happens in this movie by saying, "Oh, she got voted out, and the purge came back."
mm.
So I was like, "Well, what was the whole point of the whole section, right?" So it was almost like they kind of
Well,
um
Trump did get voted out once and then
retroactively
came
made
back.
this
So,
useless, right? Yeah, I guess yeah. So that's true.
um,
Um, but
well,
yeah,
yeah,
so this one is was meant to be more of like a I think hopeful is that don't
yes,
worry, we'll get through this and then it'll come out the other side, kind of thing. But
mm,
I think that was the idea of this one. But
yeah. But I don't think neither of us particularly enjoyed it, though. It would be fair to say, right? It's not,
it was I mean, I didn't particularly dislike any of them, to be honest. They're all
okay,
pretty like, yeah, okay, that was fine.
right.
I wouldn't say anything was
Yes.
bad.
No, no,
They were
none of
all
them are out and out
they
terrible,
were
I don't think. This
yeah,
comes
yeah.
closest to me just being a bit like,
Mm,
yeah, a bit boring, a bit
mm.
treading water, because they did start to go into this a little bit in the previous film, and this doesn't go much further. So it's the one that seems to build upon what came before less. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
It's like it's
Right,
not, yeah.
right.
Now, so the first Purge is, I think the first Purge, which oddly enough is a Japanese co-production. The first two
Uh,
are French co-productions. But this is a Japanese co-production apparently. And yes, they got a new director in, right? Jared McMurray, with Dim Monaco as continuing as a writer.
The writer.
Yeah. And so it's an odd one because the first Purge, yeah, they go back to like 2020. What they're supposed to be. Actually, I suppose it's still kind of the future, but
It's like 2016 or something.
And they do, yeah, they do like a test run on Staten Island, right?
Right.
So basically, it's a test run and
at a low income, specifically a low
yes,
income neighborhood
yes,
in Staten Island, right?
exactly.
So,
And
yeah.
and pretty much we find out from the beginning that they're, even though, so there's a scientist as played by Marisa Tomei, and she's come up with the idea, and she's supposed to be non-politically partisan. It's her idea. She thinks that the purge is kind of a good idea. But then again, the new founding fathers, from the beginning, they're deliberately trying to tweak the statistics, right? And when people don't actually start killing each other, they send people in to kind of inflame the situation and make it worse, right?
Well, I think this was, I mean, I had several more examples, but I've forgotten most of them because it's been so long since I watched them. But this was one example of when I mentioned earlier, like not taking the easy way out, is
Yes.
that it would have been easy enough to say the first purge that, all right, immediately people just started doing all this shit, right? But they actually kind of took the idea that, oh, actually, you're given the license to do whatever you want and nobody does anything, right?
Right.
They have to be almost coerced to do bad stuff before this. So I thought that was kind of like an interest that was
Yes.
it was a more nuanced take or more of an interesting take than it could have been. It could have just been sort of
Yes.
like
Yes.
all right, let's go shoot people, right, kind of thing, right? So
Yeah.
so I'm glad that they did that. It made it more of like it's more of like a pause. I mean, basically, it sort of has a really negative view of human nature in general. But I think in that case, it actually has a bit of a positive view that maybe that we're not all necessarily like that, or we don't really want to be like that in general,
Yes.
human nature. That we are
Apart from
people are
rich white
generally good
people,
until
we're all
they're
horrible.
yeah, rich white people are
Yeah.
bad. Yeah, you are all purple. Yeah. So that I thought that at least was a good point. So it was a
Well,
good choice there. So
I don't. Yeah.
but I think this one
Unfortunately,
was the most that I think this is the one that descended more into just shooting. That I think that's why I like this one the least, which I liked
well,
the idea of it, but it was really
yes,
just a lot of shooting most of
it
the time,
is.
right? So
But also at the same time,
yeah.
I thought the urban action stuff was a bit better. Like there was a lot of stuff in like cramped like housing projects and stuff, and
Yeah.
so I thought the action was
Yeah.
actually more well done. But yes, it was just
Okay.
endless action.
Yeah.
And I was watching it and I found this oddly enough might be the one in the series though that you might want to put, you know, into like a time capsule. Because this is
Watch
a
again.
very angry film, right? It's a very, very,
Yeah.
very angry film. Um,
That's true.
and
Yeah.
it's the one that most kind of mirrors, not necessarily a reality, but it's the one that definitely mirrors people's fears of what might. I mean, watching it, what was most alarming, I suppose, is how unfar-fetched a lot of it felt, the politics of it.
Well, I mean, and I'm wondering if I mean, I don't know what the reasoning why they got a new director for it, but I mean, Gerald McMurray is a black man, so I
Yes,
think I'm wondering if there was actually like a conscious
I think
this
so.
movie, even though it's
Yes,
my kind of thing, needs to be done by a black person's perspective, which
exactly.
good for them, right? So I
Yes,
think that's what
and they did
happened.
the
So
same with the
yeah,
next one as well, right? I think
yeah,
so. They
sure,
got
yeah.
someone
So
in who maybe understood a bit more. I think that was smart of James Mann to like do that.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah. So
yeah. Um, yeah, it's a very, very angry film, and again, I don't think it's a great film, but I like the amount of it just seemed like, yeah, I mean, this whole idea of, and then, in real life, you have the so-called sanctuary cities and stuff like that. And it was just, there's a
yeah,
lot in there which it was like, fucking hell, this is quite near the knuckle in a way. it's just a
What do you
shame
mean?
it's not a very good film, really. I mean, it's slick and well made and everything, but it's
Mm.
just it's a weird mix of more the same, but also that more the same is getting scarily close to, sometimes people kind of,
Close to the reality.
yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes people kind
Yeah.
of capture something in a work of art that isn't necessarily the best example of what that work of art can be. It's not a great work of art,
Mm.
but it can be extremely representative of its time and place, right? So I think this
Mm.
is the
Sure.
one
Yeah.
that's like the one that'll be most interesting to look back on in the future. Like
Mm.
people will watch this and they'll go,
Right. Right.
"Fucking hell, people were angry back then." Like you really feel it. You really, really
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
the
Mm.
rage in this film, right?
Mm.
Whether you think it's,
Mm.
reasonable
Mm.
or not, it's undoubtedly there, right? Um,
Mm. Yeah.
so so then the same year, 2018, they start the TV series, right?
Mm.
Which
Did
ran
you
for
watch the
two.
TV series between watching 4 and 5, or did
I
you?
didn't because I had to do like an episode a day.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't,
Put it
there's no
on.
way
Yeah.
I'm binge
I
watching.
just did all 5, and then I did the TV show last.
Okay,
So
okay. I
yeah.
mean, I didn't fit. I watched 4 episodes. So they're 10 episode runs, right? Each. So I did four
Yeah.
episodes of the
Did you
first
watch the
season.
whole? Did you watch the whole both series?
No, I watched 4 episodes of the first season, and then I think four of the second season as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
I couldn't be doing with finishing them, but they are quite good. I think they're
I'll be honest, I
better than
actually liked
average
the
TV.
show better than average TV. And I actually liked a lot of the show better than the films themselves, actually,
Yeah,
to be honest. So
I agree. They're
I
more
finished
varied.
both series. And actually, I'd say even the second series was even better than the second season. I thought the second season was quite well done because
Yeah.
it brought up and answered questions that you didn't even know you had watching the rest of the series, which was that, well, what happens the rest of the year, right?
Mm,
Like how does this? I mean, all the other ones are really like limited to this kind of 12-hour period, but this one is like, so the second season is like, the first episode is the Purge night, and then the last two episodes I think are the next Purge night. But the rest of the series this season is all the year between, right? And what
right.
happens the year between, right? And I thought it was quite well done, actually. Like, it was really, really. I mean, and each of the stories was a different kind of almost genre, really, because there was. I mean, it was the same thing, but we going back to like the Anarchy, which is like they had like 3 or 4 different stories that were all again standalone, that eventually intertwined by the end of the season. One was like a bank robbery, so it was like these kind of police officers that were kind of like either uh, sidelined, or they were like all fired, or they just couldn't make enough money to live, and so they've decided that they're going to do this bank robbery on the night
Mm,
on the during the purge night. So the whole thing is like a heist
mm,
series.
mm,
And then there's another one where there's a kid who is kind of nervous and doesn't really want to go outside, but his friend forces him to go outside, and he ends up getting almost purged, but then like fighting back and then killing
mm.
his attacker, and then based on that realizes he's got like a bloodlust and becomes an actual serial killer. It becomes like a serial killer story throughout the whole
Mm.
season. And then and again, so each of them had almost their own flavor, which I thought was really interesting. And
Yes,
and well, yeah,
yes.
another one was a guy who is a doctor who tried to get purged, and it turned out that someone had targeted him and actually had made him like a hit on him, and then it
Right.
became like a whole murder mystery, like a mystery thing, right? So each of them, it was really quite interesting, because it was like, now we're doing the heist, now we're doing serial killer, now we're doing
Mm.
a mystery, right? So it was fun to watch, and it really made you really want to watch the end and find out how each of the they not only how did they wrap up, but also how did they intertwine by the end. And it was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was quite satisfying, I thought, the
Yeah,
second
no, I'm sure
season
if I'd have made
especially.
it through to the
Yeah.
end, I would have, and I liked it. I just kind of don't do episodic TV so much, and I just like it's very like, oh, we're doing this bit now, we're doing that bit now, we're doing that bit. end credits, and then we're doing that bit now, we're doing that bit now, we're doing that bit now, end credit. And it just, for me, I'm like, come on, do it in 90 minutes. I don't want to be watching this for, hours or whatever. But that's just, I'm less acclimatized to episodic. You watch a lot more of it than me. So you're
I
just,
watch a lot of episodic TV, more than I watch films. So actually, I'm
yes,
more inclined to that, and I actually like that because I mean, of course, it's more of a time commitment, but I find that it's more satisfying overall because you get more character depth, you get more storyline, you get more kind of like you end up getting a lot more filler sometimes as well, depending on the show. But when
yes,
it's done well, it's I find overall it's more satisfying to have a
right.
episodic television done well than it is to
Yeah.
just like a 2 hour movie done well.
But
So
I can definitely
um,
see its superior television, like not top of the tree television, but good,
oh,
good
it was quite
TV,
good. Yeah,
good
it wasn't
TV.
even like on my. I have like a long list of TV shows to watch. It wasn't even on my list of shows to watch, um, because it just wasn't didn't hadn't
Right.
really kind of crossed my purview. But I watched it because of this, and I was like, oh, I'm glad I watched these. These are quite good. So
The
yeah, so it's quite
second
good.
series also introduced me to Paulo Nunez. I think she's
Oh
the
yes,
Spanish actress or Mexican actress who plays
mm.
the one who's investigating.
Yes, and
Yeah.
that was the other storyline, the fourth storyline, which is where she actually works for the NFFA,
Mm,
and ends up kind of like kind of almost an espionage one where she's trying to,
yes.
and then she's a spy and she's kind of trying to get away. So yeah, so that was another one,
Yeah.
a really great
And
storyline as
just
well.
yeah,
So
she's a
she's quite
very
attractive, yeah. So
very fetching actress. Yeah,
yeah,
unusually
yeah. So
age appropriate for me as well for a change.
yes, yeah, I'm
But
surprised. Yeah, she's much too old for you.
she's 1 year older than me. But it also the only I never apart like if I hadn't seen her in this show, I don't think there was any way on earth I would go and watch the last two Bad Boys films.
Oh,
But she's in them.
was she? Oh, is she?
Yeah, so I might give them a go.
So, oh, okay, great.
Yeah,
Good for you.
so there you go.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
finally, then the
yeah.
last film to date, the Forever Purge, which apparently was a Chinese co-production with the US, now
Hmm.
directed by Everardo Gout. Was that his name? I can't read my
Um,
handwriting here.
River Purge. It was directed by Gout. Yeah, Everardo Gout.
Everardo Gout. Yeah. Okay. So
What a
this
what a
one, yeah.
unfortunate
So
name.
so again, this again decides to tackle from another point of view, another issue. So
Mm.
this goes for immigration along the southern border.
Latino. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Latino community and also immigration issues, right? So yeah.
So we got Ana de la Reguera in this, who's in that fucking awful Army of the Dead film. The God, I didn't make it to the end of that. And Tenoch Huerta, who so he's in the Black Panther sequel, right? I think.
Yes, he's Namor. Yeah,
Yeah,
he,
yeah. I
he's
haven't
the
seen that, but
he's the the Submariner, the one that you actually thought Aquaman was.
really? Oh, okay, okay, okay. Interesting.
Because yeah. So just to give a background to people watching this is that Clive hates superhero movies, but he actually said, "Hey, I want to go see Aquaman," and I was like, "What? Really?" So we went to see Aquaman together, and you're like, "This is not the Aquaman that I remember." And so
Yes,
we talked a little more, and I realized that you were thinking of the Submariner, not
yes,
Aquaman, totally different thing. So anyway, this he plays the
yeah.
Submariner.
Is he a good submariner?
So yeah, he's pretty good. Yeah. So I mean, it's not about him. He's kind of like a one character, like he's like the villain of the piece kind of thing. So, but he's not focused on him. But he's quite good. Yeah. So yeah,
Um, yes. So and of course who also in it is Josh Lucas as well, right? Who
Josh
I'm
Lucas.
always
Yeah.
kind of I quite like him. He does
Yeah. Josh Lucas is
sleazeball well,
pretty.
doesn't he?
What's that?
He does sleazeball well.
Yeah, well, he does baseball, but he also does kind of like he also does. He's also like romantic, rom com lead, but
Is
also
he?
sometimes sleazeball. So yeah, he was in like
Oh,
Sweet Home Alabama with like Reese
oh.
Witherspoon and
See,
stuff
I
like that,
don't see
right?
those films, so I
Yeah,
had no idea he
yeah,
had
yeah.
my image
But
of
yeah,
him. He's
most
a
of the yeah,
character actor who always
but I
plays
think
sleazeballs.
but I think he does pretty well where he does like a nuanced sleazeball. Like he doesn't play
Right.
like straight up
No, that's why I like him.
like
That's
gross
why I like
like
him.
which I think he
Yeah.
did pretty good job as I mean, there's this guy who's basically like he's like a straight up racist from the beginning, but you end up kind of almost rooting for him by the end of the movie, which is sort of like hard to do. So I mean,
Yes, and
yeah.
the big kind of switch. So basically, yeah, basically, some people decide that the purge isn't just for one night; it's forever, right? And
Mm,
and El Paso becomes a fucking war zone. And the big
mm,
kind of ha ha ironic twist is that the white Americans have to escape across the border to Mexico, right, to be safe, you know.
mm.
And the very, again, spoilers, the very final image of the film is like a Great Wall of China kind of southern border wall, just like Trump used to go on about. And oh,
Mm.
what a surprise, he
Yeah,
still hasn't built it. What a shock that is.
yeah, well,
Um,
yeah. What a shot.
a view from space. So this is coming in from that angle. But again, not urban action this time, it's out in the desert. But again, it does just descend into running about with guns and
Uh,
chasing and stuff. But I
oh,
can't say this
yeah, yeah, yeah,
lets the
yeah.
side down either. It's kind of a similar quality as the previous sequels. It's like
Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay. It's not
Yeah.
bad. I didn't hate it at all. All actually shot in California, by the way, standing in for Texas. Um,
Mm.
but again, how can I put it's an odd one. It's like so. There's been five of these, two TV series. And despite the fact that
Mm.
none of it is overwhelmingly good, oddly enough, if someone said to me they're doing another Purge film or series, I'd kind of be interested to see what they do with it. Because it has the
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
capacity
yeah. So I think
for.
that's yeah, and I think that says a lot for you. Is that as I said, I mean, I didn't have a lot of examples because I didn't write them down and I've forgotten them all, but there were elements where like times where I was like, oh, that was a really interesting choice to make on this, right? It wasn't the easy choice. It wasn't just the let's kill people and keep going. There were elements that were like oh, like they were trying to do something. They were trying to
Yeah,
do satire. They were trying to make political statements. They were trying to make, social political stuff. And it wasn't always great, and sometimes it was a little too heavy-handed, but generally speaking, it was something different, right? It was something new and it was trying, right? Which is more than you can say for a lot of other things, right? So
yeah,
good on it for like trying and doing it. I wish there was a little bit less shooting, a little bit more kind of like
yeah.
other kinds of violence. And one other thing that I wanted to mention, which also surprised me, which I'm surprised you didn't mention yet, which is that when they say that all crime is legal, right?
Mm.
You would think that one, and they do mention this a little bit in the TV show, but it's
Rape.
almost never mentioned in the movies. There's no rape. Yeah,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
really interesting. Did you notice that? That there's
Well,
no
it's
sexual, and they
I
mentioned that that
yeah.
sexual deviancy or sexual crimes have risen, but they almost show
No, no.
absolutely nothing about it, and they
That is the
don't
but
even
the
show
thing
that
is
it's
I
going to be threatened. So it's interesting.
yeah, no, I
Yeah.
expect that, to
Mm,
be honest, like if they'd have made this
mm,
series in the 70s, there'd be loads of rape
mm.
in it, right? Um,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Right.
but
Mm.
yeah, that doesn't they yeah, they're not going to go anywhere near that in a modern American series that I guess.
Really? Because I'm
Yeah,
surprised. I'm surprised that they don't even like they didn't even like threaten it. Like they didn't even say like, oh, I mean, it was a little bit, but like
yeah.
very, very, very
I
like it
think
was almost like
because
I'm gonna kill you. And I was like, well, don't you want to rape her and then kill her? Like I'm surprised they
well,
never
yeah,
even
certainly anyone
didn't
with
even
any
like
sense, yeah, but
well, but they would never even refer to it. Like it was, yeah, it was really. I
yeah,
thought it was an interesting choice, because it felt like it felt inauthentic because that was an element that should
yeah.
have been there but
I
wasn't,
think it's
right? So anyway.
because you're
Yeah.
dealing
Not that
in
I
it with
want rape. I'm just saying that would be
no,
the
no,
thing that
because
a
it's a
lot of,
film that's
especially these types of toxic men, that's where they would go
yeah,
first, right?
but
Rather
I think
than
it's
killing with a gun, right? So
because the films are pitched as kind of exploitation entertainment with some socio-political
mm,
stuff in. I think it means is if you're going to throw the sexual and rape stuff in, then you're gonna have to do it in that way that they used to do in like the
mm,
70s and the 80s. You have to do it in a way where you have your cake and you eat it, right? And it has to be sexualized to a certain point to fit the kind of film there's because if they're just going to put it in and it's just gross and it's going to totally
mm,
topple the film's not fun anymore, right? But
Right.
sexualizing rape and stuff is kind of not considered um it's something we don't do in mainstream cinema anymore, right? It's no longer
Mm,
considered palatable, right? You either have to go, you'd
right.
have to go to you'd have to a really scrungy kind of low budget film, but this
Uh,
kind of Blumhouse production's not going to be doing
yeah.
that, right? So they just left it out.
Well,
Anyway,
I think you didn't get there in the first season of the TV series. I think you didn't get there because you only watched the first four. But like the one main character, the black actress who's like the main in one of the main characters in that
mm,
one, she ends up getting kind of like she's in the kind of like the business world, and she wants to kind of purge her boss because her
yes, I
boss
remember,
keeps
played by
over
Ed
going.
Baldwin, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah, Baldwin, yeah, one of the Baldwins, and kept overlooking her for promotion. So she tries to purge him, and then goes to her and feels bad, and goes to his house to kind of to save him. So it ends up being that he ends up is in the middle of having like a sex slave party, and
yeah,
so
yeah.
he,
I
so
didn't
he
see that,
puts
but
her
I
in,
could
and
see it coming
yeah,
a
yeah,
mile off.
and so then she was like all tied up, and then but they weren't even like raping; they were just kind of like groping, and so it was
Yeah, no, that's as far as we're going to go
yeah,
in mainstream
yeah.
entertainment into that area. I mean,
Mm.
no one would have liked to have seen more of that in the first film than me, but sadly,
Yeah, I figured,
we.
and I thought that would have been your first point. It's like, where's all the rape? Right? I thought that was what you said, but
No. I would never say such a thing. Um. Anyway, that's your Halloween show.
there you
Not
go.
particularly Halloweeny,
Ooh,
but fuck it, it's free.
yeah.
Shove it up your ass if you don't like it. Right. See you next time.
Happy Halloween.
Ooh.